Welcome, modern day mystics, fellow truth seekers, James and Justin, back again with another reaction video. Today we're diving into our request bin, and we're going to watch this video done by the Harmony YouTube channel. The video is titled The Mystery of the Eastern Orthodox Church. I've seen just a little bit of it, and there seems to be a lot of cool art in here, ancient Christian art.
Just the title alone has brought so many fascinating things to my attention. I'm like, I didn't know I was interested in this. Let's take a look.
Cool.
When Christ said, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand," this is a call to a life of theosis, personal communion with God. The Son of God became man, so that man can become a God by grace. To the Western mind, this idea of becoming a God may seem incomprehensible, sacrilegious even. But it derives unquestionably from Christ's teachings. These same teachings have been preserved in the Eastern Orthodox Church for the past 2,000 years. The following video was written by Archimandrite George, an abbot of a monastery on Mount Athos. It explains this concept, how we can become perfect, just as our Father in heaven is perfect. The first Adam separated us from God with his disobedience and his egotism. With his love and his obedience to the Father, obedience unto death, the second Adam, Christ, brings us back once more to God. Once again, he orients our freedom towards God, so that by offering him our freedom, we unite with him. The work of the new Adam presupposes the work of the new Eve, the Panagia, who put right the wrong done by the old Eve. Eve drove Adam to disobedience. The new Eve, the Panagia, contributes to the incarnation of the new Adam, who will guide the human race towards obedience to God. Therefore, as the first human person who achieved theosis in an exceptional and, of course, unrepeatable way, the Theotokos played a role in our salvation which was not only fundamental, but both necessary and irreplaceable. If the Panagia, in her obedience, had not offered her freedom to God, had she not said yes to God, God would not have been able to incarnate. Once God had given freedom to man, he would not have been able to violate his gift. So he would not have been able to incarnate if there had not been such a pure, all-holy psyche as the Theotokos.
So I just wanted to touch base to see if you were tracking where we're at, but I also wanted to say it's nice to be known sometimes. You were like, I think you're going to like this because of the art stuff, and talk about a cool, well-edited video, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was what I was thinking. Just well done.
Nice to be known. You were like, I think you particularly are going to like this, and I do. So that's nice. But just keeping everything on track. So what's going on?
I believe it or not, I'm also a little lost with the lingo because there's a lot of terms in here. He's using a lot of big terms that I just don't understand the terms for it.
That should become the Panagia.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. But it is earlier in the video. I'm sure as it goes on,
Yeah.
there's going to be some stronger themes that kind of resonate through, and we'll be able
So
to
we'll
pick
watch
up on
through
it.
for a little bit
Yeah.
longer now.
Who would offer her freedom, her will, all of herself totally to God, so as to draw him towards herself and towards us. We owe so much to Panagia. This is why our church honors and venerates the Theotokos so much. So much so that St. Gregory Palamas, summarizing patristic theology, says that our Panagia holds the second place after the Holy Trinity. That she is God with a little g, after God with an uppercase G. She is the boundary between the created and the uncreated. She leads those being saved. Here, on the holy mountain, a contemporary saint, Nicodemus, lived. And he pointed out that the angelic ranks themselves are illumined by the light they receive from the Panagia. Therefore, she is praised by our church as more honorable than the cherubim, and incomparably more glorious than the seraphim. The incarnation of the Logos and the theosis of man are the great mystery of our faith and theology. Our Orthodox Church lives this every day with its mysteries, with its hymns, with its icons, with its whole life. Even the architecture of an Orthodox Church witnesses to this. The great dome of the churches symbolizes the descent of heaven to earth. The evangelist St. John writes that God became man and dwelt among us. We represent the Theotokos in the apse of the altar to show that God comes to earth and to men through her. She who contained the uncontainable God within herself for our salvation. To continue, our churches show deified men, those who became gods by grace because God became man. Sainted and deified man. Thus, when we enter an Orthodox church and see the beautiful holy icons, this is an immediate experience through which we learn what God's plan is for man, the purpose of our life, the incarnation of God and the theosis of man. Those who wish to unite with Christ, and through Christ, with God the Father, recognize that this union is realized in the body of Christ, which is our Holy Orthodox Church. Of course, this union is not with the divine essence, but with the deified human nature of Christ. But this union with Christ is not external, nor is it simply moral. We are not followers of Christ in the way that one might perhaps follow a philosopher or a teacher. We are members of Christ's body. The church is the body of Christ, the real body, not a moral one, as some mistaken theologians have written, not having looked deeply enough into the spirit of the Holy Church. Despite our unworthiness and sinfulness, Christ takes us Christians and incorporates us into his body. He makes us members of himself. We become real members of Christ, not just followers of a code of morality. As the Apostle Paul puts it, we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones.
Why does everything have to be scary and oogie boogie and like, you know? And I'm just thinking about, like, nowadays you can rent a horror movie or you can go to a fair and go through a spooky haunted house.
Yeah.
But back then, I wonder sometimes if over the ages it was just all that stuff that you'd get from recreation was baked into the way of life, you know? Like, now you're part of the blood. You know, like, cue this, like... Why is everything frightening and like darkly, dimly lit? Because there's no electricity back then.
There's got to be some type of an attraction to like the atmosphere and the ambience of
that's all I'm saying.
The ancient Orthodox, because anytime I really consume any of the Orthodox content, it is all kind of focused around an atmosphere.
Somebody out there do this. I'm going to give you a ticket-winning idea. A one-day religion. From dusk till dawn, everybody decides we're going to believe in a religion for one day. And you'll make robes, and there'll be pageantry, and thrones, and scepters. And at the end of the day, you go, all right, we're done with that religion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not to ever be believed into again. Whatever we wrote, scribed that day, we burn up. And now we're free to move on with our lives.
Yeah.
You know? Because everything you're talking about, you go in and you can smell the incense. And, you know... It's like long practiced, all this investment, you know, in a stone building that has lasted over the ages. That's cool too.
Yeah.
But I just like to shake things up sometimes, and I'm like, you know, why can't you get a little taste of that in your own life? Like, let's buy some robes and go to the local park and walk around.
Sure, why not?
Swinging those orbs with incense in them, just for fun, just for the heck of it, and then recite. Let's do it 3 a.m. just to be extra oogie boogie, you know, and then wash your hands of it without the commitment. Like it's like the opposite of a tattoo.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm a proponent of expression that isn't an oath.
That's your thing. I think some people enjoy the idea of being committed for a lifetime,
and I hope you get everything out of it that you're looking for.
Yeah, and I can imagine there's those people out there, because there obviously are. But then I also imagine someone who, you know, maybe you're raised in that type of an atmosphere, and maybe it doesn't resonate with you. I could imagine that being hard. Yeah, you know, because I was literally just having a conversation with someone today about this, about how I'm always surprised at, you know, there's some people who are like devout Catholics or devout Orthodox, well, not devout. They claim that they're a part of that, but they don't really participate in like all the rituals, because it's like tough to be like an actual like practicing Catholic, a practicing Orthodox is tough.
You choose your level of involvement.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong here. I know that there are things that only pay dividends if you're invested and you've got skin in the game. You know what I mean? Like, some things take prolonged involvement and investment in to pay off in the end. You know, like, who knew that, 7 years in the monastery would be the final stone that made me, be enlightened or whatever the heck it is. I'm just also saying, when there's investment and commitment, then sometimes it can be very hard to not do that thing anymore. Once you're like, okay, I'm kind of done with, cloaks and, candles and incense and, like, welcome to the midnight ceremony. When the time comes to, like, be done with that, you're like, I've got skin in the game. Been at this for 12 years. I can't not believe it now. Everything, you can do both. I say try out commitment and devotion to some things, but also see how you like picking things up and putting them down, how that serves you too.
Also, I don't want to just skim over. We were questioning at the beginning, like, what is this about?
Yeah, well, what is it actually
focusing about Mary? Like, a lot of the importance of Mary and why they give her so much attention is because without her acceptance of, like, what God had asked from her, if she had said no, then we wouldn't have.
And there's almost like this back and forth of between, like, God becoming man and man becoming God, and the sort of deal that was even made there with Mary being like, I will be a receptacle, you know, and then opening that door.
Certainly, depending on the spiritual state of Christians, they are sometimes living members of Christ's body, and other times they are dead. But even as dead members, we still do not cease to be members of Christ's body. For example, someone who is baptized has become a member of Christ's body. If he does not confess, does not take communion, does not live a spiritual life, he is a dead member of Christ's body. But when he repents, he immediately receives divine life. This permeates him, and he becomes a living member of Christ's body again. Someone like this does not need to be rebaptized. Someone who has never been baptized, however, is not a member of Christ's body. Even if, according to human standards, he lives a moral life. In order to be incorporated into Christ, he needs to be baptized. Since we are members of Christ's body, Christ's life is offered to us and becomes our life. So we are enlivened, saved, and deified, yet we could not be deified if Christ did not make us members of his holy body. We cannot be saved if the holy mysteries of the Church did not exist. These make us one body with Christ, and, as according to the Church Fathers, we share the same body and the same blood as Christ. We are in fact one body and one blood with Christ. St. John Chrysostom, the 5th century saint, says that God has nothing more to give man than what he gives him in Holy Communion. Man cannot ask anything more of God than what he receives from Christ in Holy Communion. So, being baptized, chrismated, confessing, we commune through the body and blood of the Lord, and we too become God's by grace. We unite with God. We are no longer strangers, for we have become familiar with God. Christ with me. Inside the church in which we unite with God, we live this new reality which Christ brought to the world, the new creation. Christ with me. This is the life of the church, of Christ, which becomes ours as a gift from the Holy Spirit. Christ with me. Everything in the church leads to theosis. The Holy Liturgy, the mysteries, divine worship, the gospel sermon, the fasting, All of these lead to this one thing. The church alone is the place of theosis. The church is not a social, cultural, or historical organization and does not resemble other organizations in the world. The world has fine institutions, fine organizations, fine establishments, and other fine things, but our Orthodox Church is the unrepeatable, the sole place for the communion of God with man, for the theosis of man. Only within the church can man become a god, and nowhere else. Not in universities, not in social services, not in any of the fine and good things that the world has. None of these are able to offer what the church offers, however good they may be. It is possible that we weak and sinful men go through crises and difficulties from time to time within the church. All of these happen in the church because we are as yet on the way to theosis. And it is very natural that human weaknesses still exist. We are becoming gods, but not yet. So no matter how often these things occur, we will not leave the church. Because within the church, we have the possibility, we have the only possibility to unite with God. For example, when we go to church to attend the service, we may meet people there who do not pay attention to the holy service. Then along comes a seemingly reasonable thought which says, what do you gain by coming to church? Might it not be better to sit at home, pray, in greater peace and comfort? However, we must contradict this evil thought with discretion. Yes, perhaps I'll have more outward peace at home, but I will not have God's grace to deify and sanctify me. I will not have Christ who is present in his church. I will not have his holy body and his precious blood, which are on the holy altar in his holy church. I will not partake in the Last Supper of the holy liturgy. I will be cut off from my fellow brethren in Christ, together with whom we form Christ's body. So whatever may happen, we will not leave the church, because only within it do we find the path to theosis. According to the teachings of the Holy Bible and the Fathers of the Church, man is able to achieve theosis because within the Orthodox Church of Christ, the grace of God is uncreated. God is not only essence, as the West thinks. He is also energy. If God was only essence, we could not unite with him, could not commune with him, because the essence of God is awesome, unapproachable for man. As was written, never will man see my face and live. So here's a relevant example from things human. If we grasp a bare electric wire, we will die. However, if we connect a lamp to the same wire, illumination, we see, enjoy, and are assisted by the energy of the electric current. but we are not able to grasp its essence. Let's say that something similar happens with the uncreated energy of God. If we were able to unite with the essence of God, we would become gods in essence. Then everything would become a god, and there would be confusion so that essentially nothing would be a god. This is what they believe in the Oriental religions, in Hinduism, where the god is not a personal existence but an indistinct power dispersed through all the world, in men, in animals, and in objects. If God had only the divine essence of which we cannot partake and did not have his energies, he would remain a self-sufficient God.
So there's a few things I'm starting to get from Orthodoxy, and one is like the high, need to be at church. There is a heavy emphasis that you need, like, church is vital to, like, your development into what seems to be becoming a god.
I was like the things I was saying were like the demon that speaks into someone's mouth. But just so you know, I've been baptized.
Yeah.
Right? So I've been washed in the blood of the Lamb. So
there's some mysticism baked in here with this, what type of God? What I'd like to do is, if I was talking to an Orthodox person, like you say, we're becoming like God, or we're becoming God. What do you mean by that? Do you mean equivalent with the God that made us?
It's super duper interesting.
Yeah,
this video is interesting, and the idea of theosis.
Yeah,
and all these terms that are kind of new to us, we'll have to like log them away in our lexicons here.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is interesting. It's this like dance between matter and God, and man's role versus his relationship with God. And I agree with you. It seems to, actual attendance seems to be big deal here.
Yeah.
So don't listen to all my kidding around about things. You know, I have some reverence for what you're trying to say here.
But you see the mystical side of it, like, because whether it's like Hinduism, New Age philosophy, or stuff like that, or enlightenment, talking about like self-realization, God realization, Christ consciousness. They're all like kind of like pointing towards some type of like you figuring out that you're God, and then or you're going to become God, or you're in the process of becoming God.
Yeah, a lot of them are like...
It's like, God, like, there's very
how many
close
breadcrumbs
there.
do you need, Hansel? Wait a sec. It's in all the media, the Matrix, everything's about waking up. Yeah, it's true. It's like, the snooze alarm's been going off and we're like... It's like, you're God already. Just wake up and realize it. But I feel like along the way to that realization, we get, like, sidetracked with... Let me just get all spooky and ritualistic and find some other people to be like, this isn't it yet though, right? No, this isn't it. Let's say a million things and do a million things. I'm not trying to blaspheme. I'm saying it's a good point. Why do so many religions have such similar outcomes, or
not even religion, just philosophies or
ideas that have been around ancient in nature?
It seemed like the arrow's pointing. But anyway, we continue on.
Closed within himself and unable to communicate with his creatures. God, according to the Orthodox theological view, is one in a trinity, and a trinity in one. As the Holy Fathers repeatedly say, God is filled with a divine eros, a divine love for his creatures. Because of this infinite and ecstatic love of his, he comes out of himself and seeks to unite with them. This is expressed and realized as his energy, or better said, his energies. With these, God created the world and continues to preserve it. He gives essence and substance to our world through his essence-creating energies. He is present in nature and preserves the universe with his preserving energies. He illuminates man with his illuminating energies. He sanctifies him with his sanctifying energies. Finally, he deifies him with his deifying energies. Thus, through his uncreated energies, Holy God enters nature, the world, history, and human life. The energies of God are divine energies. They too are God, but without being his essence. They are God, and therefore they can deify man. If the energies of God were not divine and uncreated, they would not be God, and so they would be unable to deify us, to unite us with God. There would be an unbridgeable distance between God and man. But as God has the divine energies and unites with us by these energies, we are able to commune with him and to unite with his grace without becoming identical with God, as would happen if we were united through his essence. So, we unite with God through his uncreated energies, and not through his essence. This is the mystery of our Orthodox faith and life. Western heretics cannot accept this. Being rationalists, they do not discern between the essence and the energy of God. So they say that they cannot speak about man's theosis because God is only essence. For on this basis, how can man be deified when they do not accept that the divine energies are uncreated, but regard them as created? How can something created deify man? How can something outside of God deify man? What then, according to them, remains as the purpose of human life? Simply moral improvement. If man cannot be deified with divine grace and divine energies, what purpose does his life have? Only that he becomes morally better. But moral perfection is not enough for man. It is not enough for us simply to become better than before, simply to perform moral deeds. We have as our final aim to unite with Holy God himself. This is the purpose of the creation of the universe. This is what we desire. This is our joy, our happiness, and our fulfillment. The psyche of man, who is created in the image and likeness of God, yearns for God and desires union with him. No matter how moral, how good man may be, if he does not find God, if he does not unite with him, he finds no rest. For Holy God placed within him this holy thirst, the divine eros, the desire for union with him, for theosis. So he has in himself the power which he receives from his Creator in order to love truly, strongly, selflessly, just as his holy Creator falls in love with his world, with his creatures. This is so that, with his holy impetus and loving power, he falls in love with God. If man did not have the image of God in himself, he would not be able to seek its prototype. Each of us is an image of God, and God is our prototype. The image seeks the prototype, and only when it finds it does it find rest.
All right, well, great video. Another solid one by Harmony. I'm learning little by little, drops in a bucket, more about the Orthodox faith. I don't know, is there anything else to add on top of there?
What could we possibly add that wouldn't be mean well.
Yeah.
And hopefully it was entertaining to watch us watch that.
No, I'm just surprised. It's interesting when you come from one section of the Christian faith, what they believe and how they act and perform and do all the stuff that they do, and then you see this whole other side of things that you didn't even know existed before, and it's just it's so fascinating to see how different they can both be while similar at the same time.
Yeah, I like it.
But yeah, good video. Go check them out, Harmony. And if you liked our reaction, folks, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and everyone until next time,
Stay spiritual.